Welcome to Belt and Gun Club, and thanks for coming out to the IDPA match. IDPA is a volunteer sport. We have volunteers that help set up, help tear down, help safety officers. We have volunteers that work during the match to keep score and paste targets. Today I'm going to show you how to keep score. At some time during your IDPA career, someone is going to hand you a pad or similar type device to help keep score. Hopefully today you'll be able to understand it a little better, so when that happens, you'll say, sure, I can do that. Today I'm going to be using the Belton Fire tablets along with the Belton Commander timer. These are Bluetooth enabled and they work in conjunction with each other. I'll also be using my Cool Fire trainer, which is a CO2 barrel, to simulate shots so we can record time. After registration, or at any time during the match, when you head to your next stage, your pad may be dark. It's probably because it fell asleep, and in that case, there is a button in the upper right-hand corner. You push that button, and it'll bring the pad to life. Once the pad comes to life, just swipe up, and you'll be on the last page you were on. In this case, we haven't started anything yet, and we just came from the bay. So we are on the home page. And anytime you need to move back towards the home page, there will be an arrow in the upper left-hand corner. In this case, we're starting on stage 2 today, and we are squad 1. So we are going to enter scores. So I'm going to hit enter scores, and I am on stage 2, and we are in squad 1. We have 4 shooters in squad 1. We will typically start with the top shooter and work our way down. You don't have to start with the top shooter, but it's simplest to do that. Always work in order. So today Frank will shoot first, Doug second, Mike third, Phil would go fourth. I'm going to back up. The next stage, Doug would go first, and Frank would go last. The next stage, Mike would go first, and Doug would go last. This is just so we can rotate and everybody gets a fair chance at going first. So we're going to our first stage for the day. So I'm starting with the top shooter, and I hit enter scores for that shooter, and the scoring page will come up. If I hit the wrong shooter, I just go back, and I can hit another shooter. So I'm tapping on Frank, and we're going to record the scores for Frank. Now you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a timer. There's a line drawn through that timer. That's saying that there is no Bluetooth device on it just yet. That could be for a couple of reasons. First reason is timer's off. Let's turn the timer on. Timer comes on, and you'll see that it connected. It could also be you're too far away. And if that happens, you just bring the pad closer to the timer, typically within 10 feet, and it should pick it up. Give it a couple minutes or a couple seconds to pick it up. It's not very instantaneously. Sometimes it does take 4 or 5 seconds to pick it up. So in this case, we are ready to score. And the SO is going to give the commands. Range is hot, eyes and ears. Load and make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. We wait for the beep. We get the beep. And we go through a series of shots. The timer now shows 4.75. To get that time on the pad, we hit the timer, and it shows 4.75 up there. If you are not close enough to the SO, there will be a line through that timer, and when you get closer to the SO, it'll take 4 or 5 seconds for that line to disappear. Again, if you stay within 10 to 15 feet, you're probably safe throughout the day. So we are going to enter times and penalties for this shooter. Right now, let's say we had a PE penalty. Well, where does it say PE? What you would do Tap on the penalties box. And you will see the penalties come up that are available to put in. Hits on non-threat, procedural errors, and finger PEs can be given by the SO. A failure to do right or a flagrant penalty needs to be approved by the match director. Let's say on this particular case, we had a procedural error of faulting the line. We're going to put 1. If we had more than 1, we can go up. We can go down with the plus and minus buttons, but we'll leave this as 1, and we hit OK. You'll see it gave us a 3-second PE for the 1 procedural error. You will then go through and score the targets. Now in this case, there's 6 targets out there. You don't necessarily have to put the number exactly where the points down for each target apply. As the SO goes through, he may say 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so we got 1 on the third target that the SO is scoring. You can put 1 in the first box. And then he completes it by saying the rest are all zeros. We're all zeros. Fine. When the scoring is done, you will hit review, and you will show this to the shooter. Now, if the shooter got disgusted and walked away, it's fine to go ahead and hit approve. But if the shooter wants to know their score or they're close by, say to the shooter, here's your score. You want to look at it? Because the shooter may say, oh boy, I don't remember getting a procedural. If need be, we can go back, and that procedural, show them that it's right there. And if need be, needs to be adjusted, and the SO says, no, that was my fault. It wasn't a procedural. You can take that out, say okay, go back to review, and the procedural is removed. Once it's approved, anything after that would be an edit that will show up on practice score. So we hit approve, or the shooter hits approve, and you can see that the shooter is now green. He's completed that stage. Let's go to the second shooter and do the same thing. Wait for the commands. Time goes through. You say it says 3:31. Oops. I dropped the timer. Well, that just gave it a 14:14. Well, the SO has to make the best determination and knew that the time was 3:31. That could be entered manually. So instead of hitting the timer, we would hit 3.31, and we could enter in the time manually. And then we can put our points down in on how they scored, any penalties that need apply. Say a hit on non-threat, we say okay, we hit review, and then approve. But you can see now that there is a timer on the top one, but there isn't a timer on the bottom one. It shows that the score was entered manually. Let's say we missed Mike, and we'll go down to Phil. For some reason, Mike wasn't ready, and we go ahead and we run Phil's score. Again, we wait for the beep. Scoring is done. 408. We hit the timer. It says 408. No penalties. Perfect score. We hit review. Approve. All right, we're done. Let's go to the next one. Oops. Why is that red? It's red because, hey, we forgot to shoot Mike. All right, Mike goes through, does his shooting. Beep goes off. We get a score. Score comes in 0.64. We hit 0.64. Any penalties? Perfect score. We hit review. Verify time. Stage time looks suspicious. So when you do get a strange time, sometimes practice score will pop up and say, check that again. Was it 0.64? We can open review, look at it. We can hit back. And the SO may say, no, it was 7.3. So you can back up, add it manually, or verify that it was the correct time. Again, put in any penalties. Add your points down. Hit review. Time still looks suspicious. That's okay. We're good. Hit review. And then we hit approve. Let's move on. And you can see now that squad 1 is now green for that stage 2. We back up. And we've finished stage 2. Now we're moving to stage 3. We'll go to stage 3. Again, we're squad 1. We hit squad 1. And we would go about the same thing here. I'm going to recharge my cool fire. And this time we're starting with Doug. We move to Doug. And we're going to put in the time for Doug. Now the screen's a little different here because we have steel involved. There's one piece of steel here. We're going to run the time. Are you ready? If so, stand by. Timer says 2.41. We hit the time. 2.41 comes through. Now, did he hit the steel? If so, no problem. He has no miss. If he missed it, we hit over here and it has a miss. Comes over. We can hit that as many times as we want, but it only brings one miss because there's only one here. If we hit that by accident, just hit here again and it moves it back to the hit. There we had one hit. Perfect time, perfect score, no penalties. Review, approve. That works great. Doug's completed. He's green. The others have not. Let's say we skip Mike again and we move ahead to Phil. Phil's turn to shoot. Gets the commands. Stop, stop, stop. Oh, think we might have something wrong there. It was a squib. All right. Time came through as 2:10. The SO's checking. And it turns out he didn't have a squib. All right, so we can give him a reshoot. If he gets a reshoot and we haven't really done anything, we go back and we go back to Mike and we could shoot Mike next. If Phil did have a squib, we would have to score it as is. So this time says 2:10. We'd bring the time over. And he didn't get to the steal, so he had that. And he completed maybe half of the targets. So we can tap them in like that. Or we can just type them in like that. That might be easier when we're putting in the missed targets. And as well, we have to add a penalty for a procedural error. Now in this case, we're going to give them a procedural error for each target that was missed. Say I can't remember if there was 4 or not, but there was 5. Go back, hit another one, 5, say okay, and we review the score. Final time, approved, and off we go. In the meantime, we're waiting for Mike McCauley to come up, and Mike says, I got a problem with my gun. I'm done for the day. All right, so in that case, each time Mike comes up, we would give him a do not finish for that. And we would say yes. And you can see it gives him green for do not finish. We go and enter scores for Frank. And let's say we didn't get the timer running in time and we had to enter scores manually. Notice how the decimal point stays in there and I don't have to add the decimal point. Perfect round. We hit review and approve. And that's basically how you score. You can back up, go back to the main page. During the match, if somebody wants to see the results as we are so far, you're going to see the results for just your squad. Fairly intuitive to use. Again, enter scores. Oh, let's go to stage 4. Nope, forgot. We need to go to stage 1. We were squad 1. And we'll start off with Frank again. Here we have 2 pieces of steel. I explained earlier, you can hit that and go up to 2. Only for the misses. Again, add your penalties here. Pretty simple to use. If you have any questions, please see me or speak with your SO on how to properly use the pad. If you're having problems with the timer Bluetoothing over, again, see the match director or the SO. But scoring is pretty simple. It's really not that hard to do. And once you've done it a couple of times for a couple of shooters, it's fairly easy. So I encourage you to reach out and say, hey, I'll help score, and we appreciate your help. Thanks and enjoy your day.